What is the wow factor anyway? And we hear about it all the time. We need to hit that wow factor. But how do you know when you've hit it and when to use it? Well, stick around and I'll share with you how you can find your differentiation, understand that wow factor, and explain it effectively to the companies that you're trying to license to. Hi, I'm Lisa Lloyd here with more tips, tricks, and strategies for how you can invent, patent, and license your wow solutions. The wow factor is your competitive advantage. It is your point of differentiation, or you might also hear it called the value proposition. This is the most important part of your invention and why it will be successful. It's how you effectively communicate to companies why they should license it, how it's going to help them gain a competitive advantage over all of the other competition in the marketplace, and give you the edge that you need to get heard when you submit those sell sheets. In order to get to wow, you have to have enough highly meaningful benefits that all add up to being dramatically better than all of the competition. That dramatic difference could be as simple as one small point of difference that makes the product maybe less expensive to manufacture, and therefore those cost savings can be passed on to the consumer. Or it could be any number of other features that deliver a benefit or a number of benefits that cause people to make a switch from what they're currently using. I talk to people all the time who have wonderful ideas and are stuck pitching their product. They just can't seem to get anybody to pay attention to their sell sheet. And one of the things that I see missing is a dramatic call out of that wow factor or that value proposition. Now, this is obviously more difficult when you're dealing with something that has more of a novelty appeal. It's not going to have a wow factor. It's just fun or interesting, like a game or a tchotchke. The wow factor is that point of difference that causes companies to want to know more and ultimately will get you that licensing deal if it obviously makes sense for that company. If you'd like to learn more about what the various value propositions are and you're struggling with finding the right words, check out this video where I talked about the value pyramid and how there are different levels similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But when you can isolate what the value proposition is, you found your wow factor. And that isolation is so important because you need to zoom in on that and be hyper-focused on it in your pitch. And of course, that begins with your sell sheet. After all, we sell the sizzle, don't we? And that sizzle is what's going to give that company that you license your product to a competitive advantage when they get into the marketplace. Now, it's really hard by the time you've gone through the ideation, the evaluation, doing your due diligence, getting the patent protection. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a sell sheet and you're getting out there and you're really ready to pitch. There has to be a bit of a shift in your thinking because you're going from solving the problem to communicating that solution effectively. And if that's not done well, then you run the risk of having done all of that work and failing just because someone didn't understand what that wow factor was. If you're having trouble isolating and ultimately defining what that value proposition is, then I suggest you think back to the day that you were going about your business and you identified a problem and you thought, aha, I think I can do this better. And so you went to work and rolled up your sleeves and invented a better solution. Now it's time to jump back in your thinking to that day, that moment, and jot down whatever thoughts you had that you felt was a problem worth solving and how it compared to the competition when you did your research. That's going to show you where your differentiation is. And you can write it down in a list, and then ultimately you can wordsmith it. But basically, the idea here is to put together all of the information based on that research and based on that aha moment that you had so that you can effectively communicate and articulate that wow factor to your prospects. Now, one of the challenges that I hear all the time from inventors, and if you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me say this before, is that sell sheets are not intended to actually sell or solicit your invention. The idea is that it triggers a conversation, and ideally, you don't send it ahead. Ideally, you reach out to companies and ask them to speak with you about an idea that you have to get some feedback on it. And then during that conversation, you can use your sell sheet as like bullets as talking points so that you can effectively communicate what that wow factor is, but more importantly, so that you can hear their questions and see their face if you get it on a Zoom call and have the opportunity then to overcome any objections. But what that will teach you is what you may need to go back and revisit, tweak, or even retool your sell sheet altogether so that it does not create those objections again. Remember, companies need to make an intelligent business decision. So the faster you can get to that wow factor and effectively communicate, as I've said, to the companies why it's different and how it's better, the more inclined they're going to be to ask more questions, which ultimately leads to a conversation, which hopefully leads to a negotiation, which then of course results in a done deal. So set yourself up with success. Make sure you're very clear on what the wow factor is. And if you haven't invented your product yet, consider this at the very beginning and make it like a compass. Be hyper focused, like I said, on that wow factor, on that point of differentiation, and stay focused on it so that you don't get off into little bunny trails. I have seen it where people start to over engineer because you go ask a friend and they say, oh, you know what else you can do is, and I'm not suggesting that you do that. I am suggesting though that you take the time to consider the wow factor in each step of the way, because you may come up with additional benefits. For example, as you start evaluating the cost of goods, how you might bring costs down in addition to whatever value there is to the end user. But that would benefit, of course, the manufacturer, which is who you have to license it to. Remember, there's always two constituents you have to please in a licensing deal. It is not just the end user. It is also that licensing company. So take the time to figure out what the value proposition is from the very beginning. Hang on tight to that wow factor all the way through the process, and make sure that you feature that at the very beginning of your sell sheet, which will compel people to want to know more and hopefully get you that licensing deal. I hope you found this helpful. If you like this video, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to be notified each time I post a new video every single week. And don't forget to check out the links below for additional free content and other offers that I'm making available for a limited time. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Happy inventing.